I was like, what? I thought you were telling me to hush.
No. It was like... And the dog jumped on my lap.
I see. Well, yeah, because Apollo's in my arms, so he's like, if Apollo gets to be part of the podcast, I do too.
Why? Of course. Would that brownie sit in on the report? Sure.
I'm afraid that we're going to have to one-short this episode.
Why?
Because Connect did not have as many facts as we thought.
Well, that's okay. That's okay.
Okay if we cut one short, though, because I have done multiple +1 facts.
We can do a -1 plus. Fortunately, the Nazca lines have been one of those things I've been sort of following throughout my life, and we've dumped some facts about them that, like UFO theorists theorized that it was a way for UFOs to land because the Nazca people were more advanced than we believe they should have been for the time period in which they lived. That doesn't mean they were too advanced. It just means that some people think they were. And so they're accused of being helped by aliens. And so, yeah. And then the other thing is about the Nazca lines, you really can't, if you're down on ground level, you cannot see the shapes they make. You have to be in the sky to see that. And that's a curious thing because how do you make shapes from ground level that you can only appreciate from the sky?
Right.
And then there's the whole thing of, on top of that, why would you do it? And my thing on that is that, yes, I would believe that it is part of an alien airport, but I would also believe that it was just done as a way to identify, for irrigation. And how would they do it? Well, if you draw a big spider, let's say, on a piece of paper, and then you're like, okay, we're going to make this spider in the desert, but we're going to make it bigger. Seems to me that would be fairly easy to do if you have one guy directing everybody.
Maybe. Yeah, sure. Why not?
So.
But why? And that seems like an awful lot of work to put into something just because you can.
Because you now have a marker for, okay, we're not getting any water into the spider fields. Go there and check the irrigation. Or we're not getting any water into the... I'm sorry.
Cut that out.
I'm sorry.
Continue.
I'm a child.
You are.
Mm-hmm. So, let's talk about the phenomenon itself. Crop circles, not the Nazca lines.
Okay.
It really began in the 80s. In England, one morning, a farmer got up and noticed his field had a circle in it that had not been there the evening before. Upon examination, he noticed all the wheat was now laying flat and making an intricate design. Soon more symbols followed from places that grew crops all over the world. It was quite the phenomenon. Then two gentlemen, Doug Bauer and Dave Chorley, took credit for most of the crop circles in mid-England. It was, they said, their attempt at creating a flying saucer nest, and the designs became more and more intricate as they went on. To this day, there are many who believe this is not a phenomenon and remain skeptical.
Yeah. Okay, okay.
Now, to say that this is not a phenomenon that began in the 80s, let me say this. There is a woodcut dating from the 1600s that appears to show crop circles in a field in Europe. Certainly they're recorded from earlier than the 80s in South America, where they continue to this day. Mm-hmm. And Bowers and Chorley did crop circles using a board and some rope.
Right.
That's all they used.
Right.
I saw it on a show called That's Incredible back in the late 80s. And they might have had them on again on a show called Sightings, but I don't remember for sure. But the thing was, once they did it, the skeptical response was, oh, well, these two guys did them all, which is, of course, as impossible as they think aliens coming down and doing them is.
Fair enough.
So that's why this topic is so controversial, is because guys have admitted to hoaxing it. But there is a problem with that. And that is that the fields that we know they hoaxed, for example, while they did have some quite intricate designs, have nothing on the ones that we know were not hoaxed, or that we have no evidence of hoaxing. And the thing is that the ones that we know are hoaxed, the stalks are broken. And there's no genetic changes to the crops that are whereas to ones that there are ones where the crops are bent, but the stalks can remain completely unbroken.
Yeah.
And the designs are a lot more intricate. Plus, there are genetic changes to the crops. So that argues, at least to me, that something is going on. But again, to a skeptic, well, two guys admitted they did it. If those two guys can do it, anybody can do it. And I've heard some sort of suggest the idea that two guys did them all. Which I hope Bauer and...
That seems a bit much.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, these two men, Bauer and Chorley, claim to have made many of the crop circles in England using two boards and some ropes holding them together. The two got to where they could make these pretty quickly in just a matter of minutes, and even did some impressive design work. Furthermore, skeptics point out that fields containing crop circles are always fairly close to roads and fairly simple to get to with just a car. They claim that there are very few remote crop circles, which is another thing to suggest they are hoaxed, and there is no validity to them. They're wrong about that. I specifically looked that up. Some of the fields where they have crop circles in like South America, there's no roads. None at all. So unless they're riding burros up into these farms, nothing. There's no way. And while yes, here in America especially, yeah, there's farms or roads close to every field, but there is no place I have been, and I've driven through all 50 states just about, with the exception of Alaska and Hawaii. So 48, the lower 48, I've driven through all of them. Never once seen a farm I couldn't get to through roads or back roads or whatever. In fact, in the movie Tornado, was it called Tornado? What was it called? The Twister. Movie Twister, they have a character played by one of the guys that was in Ferris Bueller that has all these road almanacs, maps, and atlases to find all these roads so that they can just like drive through farms and whatnot, all these back roads to get where they need to get to these tornadoes faster. So to say that, well, in America, you're ignoring the truth of life in rural communities, which is they have as many roads and places to drive on as anybody else.
Right.
So to suggest that here in the States, well, that proves it's a hoax. No, it proves that we have roads everywhere. And if we didn't, if the state didn't make them, they're dirt tracks and gravel roads and things like that. So to suggest that, there's no validity to them because you can get to them fairly easy, name some place that's hard to get to that has people living on it here in the States. Mackinac Island is the only one I can think of. It's called Mackinac Island, or at least that's how it's pronounced, but if you look at it, it looks like it's spelled Mackinac.
Mackinac.
And it was the movie Somewhere in Time was filmed on Mackinac Island. Anyway, it's in Michigan. It's in Michigan, is where Mackinac Island is. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, there's really only two ways to get there. So it's like saying, okay, it's like a few years ago when Sarah Palin ran for the vice presidency.
Yeah.
One of the big things that she used to talk about was how when they tried to give her the money for the bridge to nowhere, she said no. Mm-hmm. That was so much horsepucky. All she did, that money was given with a federal marker. Pooh, this is to be used for this bridge. All she did was say, no, I don't want to use it for that bridge. But she still got the money. So to say, like, oh, no, I didn't accept that money, you're a lying piece of poop. That being said, though, like I said, that's the skeptical angle. And like I said, we're focusing more on American crop circles than we are on the English, just because I always like to do as local to us as we can.
Sure.
You know. And Kansas has had crop circles. In fact, I went to one years ago.
Whoa. How did that go?
I got bit a lot.
Yeah.
There are things that live in crops, apparently, that'll bite you.
A lot of things. Yeah.
Like chiggers and things.
Yeah. Mosquitoes and spiders. Oh my.
Right. So, and like I said, we're talking about a phenomena that is centuries old. Now, it certainly got more prevalent as time went on to the 80s and 90s when it exploded. And then it sort of stopped for a while. And then it came back in 2020 and exploded again. Especially here in the States. Now, that, unfortunately, in my mind, is an argument on the hoax side of things because 2020, pandemic,
Lord. Yeah.
lot of bored people.
Yep.
Sneaking out to a field with your buddy to make a crop circle might have been a cool thing to do.
Sure. Especially considering it's really easy to socially distance in a humongous crop field.
Right. And there are correlations to the people that don't believe the hoax theory. Certainly, there is evidence that many of the worldwide sightings occur at places near where UAP phenomena have been observed. In Kansas, for example, many of the crop circles that have appeared near places where UFOs were seen. In fact, the one I went to was that way. In fact, many Kansas UFO sightings of the 90s seem to be in areas where crop circles were later discovered. So unless Doug and Dave are following UFOs around and visiting Kansas a lot, I don't think we're...
You know, Kansas is a happening place.
Okay.
Not.
Okay. Look, I have friends in Kansas. There's things I like about Kansas, but at the same time, like, Kansas was one of the few places in the world that if you're driving from east to west, and you're in the western part of Kansas heading towards Colorado, you can actually almost sleep because even if you go off I-70, the chances are you won't hit the tree because there's only...
Yeah, because there's only one in the entire state.
Exactly. Also, Kansas is flat, so there you go. And you know, so likely the car, if it's if your tires are well serviced and your alignment is serviced, your car won't even move left or right. It'll just go straight, and you'll wake up about the time you start going up a mountain. Oh, I missed Kansas and I'm in Colorado already? How brilliant. You're shaking your head at me.